baby. And Austin, Texas, you wanna try.
Welcome to Center Hice Productions. Please, if you could, hit the subscribe and the likes. We're doing a 3 game review. Basically, I'm trying to do a once a week video. And anyways, what we're going to be going right back to the Chicago game, previous Friday. And what a game that was. The storylines being 2 storylines. Got to meet up with our ex-defensive coach, Luke Richardson, and you can imagine there was a good. It was a good meeting between him and Martin St. Louis. That you could definitely tell that they definitely have a lot of respect for one another. So that was nice to see that in that sense. And Luke has brought Chicago to respectability already. You can see that they're playing better. But in this game, anyway, it was Kirby Doc's homecoming, and Kirby definitely did not disappoint. The fans were on him during the game. He played a great game. Um, Basically, the team played quite well, and I think having Jack Eye in the lineup made a big difference as well. Point shot, and he scores and on the power play. And this is the thing with Jack Eye. I think instead of pulling him out of the lineup, believe it or not, it seems like Mike Matheson is not as big of a threat as we would have thought he would be on the power play. I would prefer to have Jack Eye or Slav or even Dandino. Dandino, I think, should be more of a second power play unit guy. But as far as Slav and Jack Eye, I think they would be good additions to the power play. Slav has had moments where he's had about 36 seconds on previous power plays and has looked good and had some scoring threats in that short of a span. Imagine if he had proper time on the first power play. And, Jack Eye, again, I think at that point he is definitely a threat if we're looking at defensemen there. Goalie's definitely got that capability, but Jack Eye's got the shot and is not afraid to shoot it. And I think his teammates can learn from him. And so, yes, it was good to see him. All of our defense played quite well in this game, and it was surprising because we were starting to face issues. Mike Matheson, Joel Edmondson have not played very well. Joel Edmondson especially more so, and Mike Matheson is looking more like it's rust because he's starting to show some better moments skating wise. Just seems like the matchups aren't as good, and he's not thinking fast enough. So he's making some mental mistakes. I think that'll come. But anyway, it was nice to see him and Gooley playing the right, which shocked me because I thought if anything we were looking at a case, it would have been vice versa. But anyway, it worked, which was nice to see. And then our second line, which was Joel Edmondson and Savard, and this worked. And it was, again, another pairing that we didn't expect to see work out. And then we've got Jack Eye with Kasevich, and basically that's been working all the time when those two are together. And they looked great in that game again. And I think if we have any issues, that's a line we could move to the second pairing, because if we ever decide to put Savard down to the third pairing, especially if we unload, uh, I think we should. We have 4 veteran defensemen, and I think to make room for the kids and to make it fair for the kids, I think the kids have earned their positions and have played better in a lot of terms than the veterans. So I think it's time to unload at least 2 of them, possibly a third, but I doubt it. I think they're going to want to keep 2 veteran defensemen. That being Matheson's not going anywhere. We know that because he's too fresh. I think he's 29 years old, actually. So he's still got a little more youth, but he fits in. He's got the speed. So I think he's definitely one they're keeping. Now, if it were me, Weidman's definitely a go. That would be the first defenseman I would get rid of. and they've given him his payback. We're rewarding him after last season, and yes, these guys are all great guys that we're talking about here. So it's hard to watch them walk away, but it's the right thing to do for the future. And he's gotten his reward for last year. And I like Weidman, but it's time to unload him. We have too many defensemen, too much depth in the background. And next comes down to Joel Edmondson or Savard. And here's where the situation comes in. Joel Edmondson hasn't played well, and it's almost like his back is still bothering him, or something's going on because he's not himself. He wasn't working for a while there until this game actually with Chicago, where he finally had a partner that it started to work out with for him, and that was him and Savard. So that was nice to see. But if it was me, I would unload Edmonston and get yourself a good trade because he'll carry value. And I think there is a good chance that we could nab a first round up and possibly a second round. It's going to be one or the other. Maybe you get a first round and uh, young player to jump in now too. That's ahead of the process, a prospect, and maybe that's the case, but I don't think so. I don't. But anyway, if we could even get a first, and who knows, I think the value in it's got to go up a little bit. But if we could do that, get a first for him, that would be great. Then that opens the door for the rest of the defensemen again. Now, Savard, I would keep for the one fact that he's played the beginning of the season way over his head in the first pairing with Caden Gooley, who's by far been our best defenseman, hands down, not even close. And he's done both of them did quite well. And for Savard, yes, he's slow, and he was having moments where it was catching him because of his speed. But he made great efforts and strides in his shot blocking, and this is a great asset to be teaching the kids. I mean, even tonight when we looked at it, he saved a goal for Monty, and Monty was fabulous, had an outstanding game. And I think this is also something we should be talking about is Monty might be showing signs that he should be the starter now. That he's taken a few steps forward. We know that Jake Allen has never really been a starter. And even now that he's aging, all the more so. I don't think Jake Allen can handle 50 game seasons. I think those days are done. I think if anything, you split it evenly, 42-42. I still think that's a bit much. I would give Monty 10 to 15 games more in the season because I think he's really elevated his game and he deserves it. So, and I think it would do Allen wonders to get a little bit more rest right now because something was going on with his game for sure. So that being said, then we had the overtime. Actually, before the overtime, we'll talk about Slavoski, that cheap hit by Dickinson, and amazing. This was good coaching by Luke Richardson, immediately pulling that line off, knowing what was going to happen, and that it was not a good thing that Dickinson did. That he took a high hit on Slavoski. Other than that, it wouldn't have been bad, but it was high. And so, you had Jack Eye ready to letting him know I'm coming for you. But by the NHL rules, that line shouldn't have been able to come off the ice. But I think the refs allowed it, knowing that what could very well be coming. Then we go into the overtime. And like I say, it's great, Monty stopping two breakaways. That was just beautiful. And Monty's looked great. Again, we get into the overtime. We ended up failing on a power play, but we also got into the shootout. And Nick Suzuki, I got to comment on it. That's the one part of his game. These shootouts, wow, the moves. He's just so patient, and his stick handling is just way up there. So I have to tip my hat off to. He seems to be the sure bet, but actually him, Caulfield, and the final goal coming down to Kirby Dach. That was great because Martin St. Louis puts his trust in Kirby, knowing it was his homecoming. And sure enough, the game was in Kirby's hands and he came through. And that was just such a blessed story with the fans giving it to him and Kirby giving them the air like, okay, come on, what are you saying now? So anyway, that was a wonderful game. all the way around the team played pretty good together. There wasn't really too many weak links. So then we end up going into Tuesday where we go to San Jose. And I don't know what our thought process is coaching wise, but we go back to putting Allen in where we know he's struggling. And yeah, it just was not pretty whatsoever. And the defense were all out of sorts. And you pull Jack Eye out of the lineup. Kasevich did not look good with Harris whatsoever. Harris looked like he's been having some problems since this juggling happened. And this was a game I'll give him a bit of credit there that he started to look a little better, but his pairing didn't work out, and there was no real defensive pairing that looked good out there in this game. They all looked bad, all three pairings. It was just a horrific game, flat game. Nobody showed up. There was nobody. It was just totally sad, a sad display. Monahan and as Slavoski had his moments, that seemed to be your best moments right there coming from them. And the first line was just atrocious. Suzuki and Caulfield and Doc just looked totally terrible in this particular game, which I suppose they're allowed to because we got to get some secondhand scoring from the other lines, and I think that's what it means to that and we got to look at our coaching situation. The power play is not working. It hasn't been working, and it's horrific. The wrong decisions are being made. And Alex Burrows, I like the guy. He seems like a nice guy, but there's something holding him there in Montreal. It's like they don't want to get rid of him for some apparent reasons that I cannot comprehend, because he shouldn't have been pulled into Montreal when we brought him there. He didn't have the experience yet. He was just in the AHL, and he was green behind the ears at the time. And I think he needed to stay there. He's definitely had plenty of time if he was going to do anything in that position to do it. Times past, he's not a good power play coach, bottom dollar. So I think it's time to unload him, or if you're that determined that you don't want to get rid of him, put him into developmental position with the kids, or make him a video coach, or you could also send him down to Laval to work with Uhl and maybe help them out a bit. So that's where I go with that. So anyway, we were just terrible, and Jake Allen was horrible in this game, just terrible. But then again, he had no help from his defense either. Then we go to last night, which we were up against Calgary, and what a game! It was individuals more so. It was just we kind of stayed with them, and this is where Jake Allen actually, I was surprised they went with them. To tell you the truth, I thought they were going to go to Monty, where he had the better hand. But they gave Allen the game, and he didn't disappoint in this game. This was the turnaround game for Jake Allen. He looked phenomenal. He won the game for them, to be honest, with 45 shots, I believe, was the total, and he stood on his head. He made a lot of big saves. That one goal was just an error, truthfully, kind of a miscue by Matheson, and it kind of threw everything off, and that's how the gentleman decided, and that Lindholm scored. So yeah, was that situation. But he played fabulous, and you had to look at Slavoski being moved to the second line, which is what we've been saying needed to happen all along. It's time. We can't keep using Slavoski on the fourth line. He needs the ice time. I mean, you can't hold him back there. The guy's been playing half decent for the little bit of time he's played. And that's the catch. He hasn't played much time, so for what he's playing, he has played well. So they move him up to the second line, and sure enough, he shows the difference of what it is to play. Because him and Monahan have something special there. They had a bit of chemistry at the beginning of the year, and it showed tonight right off from the first goal. So that was a beautiful thing. Slavoski looked good, and Monahan was outstanding. And Monahan's been pretty much the guy who's been standing up in the last few games as being the standout. He's looked better than most of the guys, to tell you the truth. Even in their bad moments, he's had the effort. So it was nice to see that pairing together, and I think they need to keep it there and keep them as the second pairing. the second line, sorry. And you can always juggle the third guy however you want to do that, but it seemed to work all right with Anderson there tonight. Um, the three big guys that seemed to work very well. So it was a very good game for that unit, and we were waiting. At least we finally got a power play goal, which was the usual spot for Cole Caulfield, and of course Nick Suzuki making that cross ice pass and right into the wheelhouse of Caulfield, and of course, boom, right up in the top corner. There was no way Markstrom was going to catch that. I was kind of surprised how Calgary defended it because the last few teams have started to come on to shutting down Caulfield, and they seem to be doubling them. And I was surprised Calgary really didn't do that. But Markstrom didn't look that sharp tonight either. That first goal, him coming out to take on Monahan, that he really gave them that goal because he misplayed that, and it was such a smart move by Slavaski to be following up behind Monahan. So what a great goal! Beautiful pass though up the ice by Caden Gooley. What can you say about it? I mean, this kid is going to be something in the future. Just give him some more time. And the only other thing with Caden, I'm a little concerned at the end of the game. He blocked a shot and hoping he looked like he might have been hurt. I'm hoping that that's not the case because that would be a huge loss that I don't think we're ready to take. But overall, what a game! And Monahan had a fantastic game to assist. He was in on both and just looked beautiful. He set up that second goal as well, I believe. Yes, he did. And yeah, they were great. And let's hope that it's the one thing is that we got to realize too. It's we got to give these kids on defense, along with Slavowski, the ice time. And that's why I say I do believe I'm backing the getting rid of the two veterans because you'll still have Savard and you'll still have Matheson to work with the kids. And again, the way Savard's been blocking shots, it makes up for his lack of speed. He's just been great that way. But I would personally, I think we need to give him a little bit of a break because he's worked so hard in the first 13 games. So I wouldn't mind even sitting him out just for a game or two, giving him a little bit of rest for his age. He's played hard and deserves a little break, and this would get all the rookies back in, and they need to put Jack and Savage back together because it didn't work with Harris, that matchup, and I think that's a mistake right there. When you get a good pairing, just leave it, let it be. And we look at. There's no doubt that it's working for the most part with well, Caden Gooley's been kind of like I said. He's jumped from Matheson to Edmonston, and it's worked out. It's worked out. Although the game in San Jose, it didn't work out at all. It was horrific, horrific. To tell you the truth, that game there, Joel Edmonston was just out of place, and that's what I've been saying about his game. His best, one of his better games was actually Calgary's, this last one, but the game before that, he was horrific. And Gooley even made mistakes, but I think a lot of that was because he was Edmondson kept getting caught up the ice out of position, and Gooley was getting overloaded with trying to catch up and having too much on the plate, and he got caught out of place on top of it. Hard to do when a guy's performing that badly. That it's going to start to affect the other person with him. So I almost think that Savard should go back to. He shouldn't be up with Matheson. I don't think that's going to last. It might have worked this time with against Calgary. It's not going to work on a continual basis. Savard cannot play that first line, so I think they are better off putting Matheson and Gooley back together and get Savard with Edmonston because that seems to settle Edmonston down a little more. He seemed to play better with Savard, so that's how I would look at keeping those two. It just seems to be his best pairing, and I honestly, truthfully, would say if there's any problems with that pairing at any point, because Edmonston's iffy here, move up Jackeye and Kasevich. And, it's just great to see Jackeye's play. He's a hockey player. He's not just a fighter. And that's the thing. This kid's got talent. So he's not typically your Ryan Reeves or your Tom Wilson. And he's got some talent. He reminds me like it was like Chris Nyland, who could fight and play the game. He turned into a hockey player as well. Chris, he did. He could actually play, and that's what it reminds me of. And we haven't, in my books, we haven't had that since Chris Nyland, or Chris Nyland and Cordick, John Cordick. And you could say, although I found it took Brashear a bit of time to learn how to stand on his skates. Once he did, he was all right, but he seemed to do better in Vancouver when he got there. And Miro Burge was a pretty good little scrapper as well. But other than that, Chrissy Nyland and John Cordick tended to be our last real significant scrappers that did the job well. And then Jackie's going to be that guy. Because you can see the team, they got to keep him in this lineup. He brings a different dimension to the game where the team elevates every time he's in the lineup. It's like they get a little more surety to themselves, and it's they play totally different. They just come alive. It's almost like it's an added security to the players out there. So I'm seeing a few rookie mistakes in the coaching, and that's why I say it's one thing for Martin St. Louis to be able to pull it off as a rookie coach. He's a special guy. That's why he's able to do it, and that's why Alex Burrows is not. I'm sorry, not everybody can do that. Just jump in the league without experience. And to be honest, Alex has had his chance, and again, it's nothing against him personally. And it's the same thing. We have guys on this team. Let's like Jonathan Drouin, Mike Hoffman. I mean, this Jonathan Drouin has been a nightmare for us for 5 years. And again, people seem to get all defensive in the French neighborhood when you get on their French players back. I'm French as well, so that doesn't wash with me. So I got to see a lot of Drouin down here in Halifax, and it helped a lot when he was playing with Nathan McKinnon for the Mooseheads. So that doesn't hurt a thing. So when he went to the NHL, yeah, he had a season that was good with Tampa, but Stevie Y seen through him and knew what he was doing. We lost in that trade big time because he's never come through. He had an okay season. I think his first season was okay. Wasn't outstanding. He was supposed to be a goal scorer. That's what we brought him in to do. He did not do that part of it. He got points, and he's a playmaker. No doubt about that. I'll give him that. But he shies off anytime physicality comes. And I'm sorry, his game has even dwindled and decreased as time has gone. It's it's clear. It seems when you're looking at him that he wants to collect his check, but he's not. He's disengaged. So it's time for him to move on. Mike Hoffman never should have been brought in because he's the English version of Drouin. Although he's got a little more grit, he will do a little bit of. He'll take the hits and give a little bit. His decision making is poor though. So there's where you go there, and he's just doesn't have the step he did when he first came into the league, and we got him when Bergevin took him on. It was much too late to do that. He was past his prime. So that being said, and then Dandenov, he's probably going to unload him as well. But I think again we're also looking at a case where there's a lot of interest in Josh Anderson, and you know what? I loved Josh Anderson, but and we go on because he's a big power forward. That's great and dandy. But John Tortorella, this is a good coach, and he hit it on the head when he came out and revealed what Josh Anderson was. And he also revealed it about Dubois. Now, Josh seems to be worse that way with the inconsistency. Great when he shows up for 2 minutes in a game. This happens a lot, and then you don't see him the rest of the night. And then, you get like 3 games out of 10 that he actually plays well. So it's too much inconsistency. So if you can get the first rounder and a prospect, go for it. There's probably a couple other guys as well that you could go along with. Monahan's definitely going to bring in another first rounder. No doubt the way he's playing, he's been one of our best players other than that first line. So he's been very consistent. So that was quite a job by Hughes and Gordon to get that in there. Yeah, they pay the heavy fee for this season, but 2 first-round draft picks is what that's going to amount to. And unfortunately, we're going to have to do it because I know Hughes wants the third first rounder, and I don't blame him. And who knows, you might be able to do a little more. And Brendan Gallagher, sorry to say, I'm glad that he looks better effort wise, like his lower body doesn't look like it's holding him back. But the sad part of it is you can definitely tell his wrists have been affected. He doesn't have that sweetness to his hands, that fine touch of producing anymore. So if you could unload Galley just to give him a chance at a cup, because he's going to drop down to the fourth line. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what's going to happen. And next of all, Jake Evans, what's going on there? We got a lot of talent coming forward, and if Jake Evans and Pitlick and Galley, who could drop to the fourth line if we don't unload them, and because there's too much talent coming. When you look at Beck and Messer, they're definitely going to move in, and I'm sorry if Evans. The reasoning being why Evans and Pitlick did so well, they were moving up and down the line last year. So now they're totally in the fourth line. They're not producing. And it's just a matter of time before that job's taken from them. There's no doubt. And I worry that his effort level's just down a bit. He's just not as offensive. Great defensively, though. But it's not. And then you got to worry about concussion wise. So, anyway, that all said, I tried to jam everything in. That's 3 hockey games I covered. And I thank you for being with us. And welcome to the Center Hice community, and it's going to be a healthy community here. If you come up with any bad ideas, we won't tolerate it because I will not disrespect other podcasters. That's not welcome here. It's not acceptable to be attacking others. I have a lot of respect for Junkie, Tony Marinaro, and Knuckles. I followed Tony and Knuckles for many years on the radio shows, so I have a lot of respect for them there. And over here it was Junkie. I think I was his first follower, and I admire what he's done with his channel. So I give them and Amy Johnson. She's somebody I just found this year. She's from the States, and she does the Habs Laval program, and she does a wonderful job. First time I've found her this year, and I have to tip my hat off. One of the most pleasant, and she knows her hockey, and very pleasant. So another one I got to shout out my hat off to. And there's a few others I watch as well, but those main four are the ones I always put out there in the front point. There are some others that I do follow as well, but if I haven't mentioned you, don't be offended because it's not meant that way. So thank you for watching, and like I say, this is going to be a healthy community. Please tell everybody you can to join up because this is going to get better as I get better with the software, because this is the big problem right now. I've been battling the software because I'm having to use a backup one. It doesn't work as well, and trying to get my Prime one up, but I need some assistance with somebody a little tech suave. So anyway, thank you very much. Be patient. We will get them out as fast as we can, these episodes. And as I get better, I will increase them. I definitely want to stick to once a week for now. As it goes, we'll get more out there as we get better at it. But thank you. Subscribe. Hit the like.
So goodbye for us.
Drops where first? At Center Hice. Take care, and I hope you all do well. Hope to see you soon.